While this doesn't cover quite everything in my book, How to Tell Time by the Moon, this is a complete guide teaching all you need to know to tell time by the moon alone from now on. Since we all learned to tell time by the sun as children, it's odd that no doctor of physics today can do the same with the moon, even though they accept the moon's light is reflected sunlight. As a sphere, the moon always points to the sun. Green denotes when the tip is on the far side. So take a look at these red circles. Just like this bullseye, they point directly to the sun. Full moon is easy. Using the bullseye, follow the light over your head to locate the sun. From looking at the moon in the daytime, you might actually get the impression that you can't tell time from the moon because it doesn't seem to actually line up with the sun. That light is coming from the top. And now the sun, it is above it. It actually looks more like it's just to the right of it. So it does get confusing. That's the apparent sun phenomenon. It occurs when ether is far from the zenith, which is directly above you. When it's above you, you get a better perspective on it than when it's at the either horizon because it's never low. And it looks to you like it's low, but it's not. So you got to realize that's not the real spot. So that's a hang up that you can get caught up on. This is what happens in the daytime. With the P900, that's what it looks like zoomed all the way in. Well, not all the way, but notice how you can see the craters, elongated shadow on the side that's furthest away from the light source, just exactly like you'd expect to see if the moon was being lit up from the sun. Here it's a little more crisp. Since the sun's far away, the distance above the moon is negligible. So that's why it's shining from the side almost directly. You can still tell at this point that the sun is just a little above the moon. I mean, we just got to look at these craters. I mean, look how crisp that is. Try and imagine that light bending around this ball makes about as much sense as water bending around the Earth. I mean, that's pretty much it. That enlarged area. I took this photo myself. So this is most certainly not CGI. You can go ahead and take your own photo, zoom in, compare it. There's no way that this thing is self-illuminating. This picture alone proves that's light. Everything you see is reflecting light. The only thing that you cannot see is a black hole, which doesn't even exist, so you don't need to worry about that. Wood reflects light, rocks, dirt, everything. This is what's happening, and there's no way that these craters could be... This moon cannot be self-illuminating because these craters don't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. It falls apart upon first inspection. So it's the only way telling time by the moon works. If this was just some random nonsense occurrence, you could not tell time by the moon. Okay? It would just be nonsense. And then that would make the flat Earth model just as useless as the globe model. But it's not useless. It's actually the only thing you can use. So D. Marble took this. He's in Washington. When he has a full moon, that's what it looks like. So it's rising in his east. The sun is just set. Now watch as the camera moves along. We're able to keep track of the sun because it's directly behind us. See these arrows? They're showing exactly where it is. Now, full moon is a little bit different than the others, but it's the same principle. It's finding the sun to figure out what time it is. So his camera is giving us a great representation of how these two bodies are swinging around the North Pole. When we plug these numbers in to the flat Earth map, it becomes obvious that we're able to watch where the sun is all night long. So now this movement, it's perfectly unexplainable in the heliocentric model. But in the flat Earth map, look, we can tell that he stopped about the middle of the night. Middle of the dark hours is when he stopped. I wasn't there, but I can just tell just from looking at the moon, that's what's going on. If we ask D Marble, he will account, I'm sure, for the same thing. It always works every single time. If you know where the sun is, you know what time it is on a flat Earth exclusively. So this is what it looks like for somebody in the central United States. At 12 o'clock needs to be on your longitude. Rotate the map around however it needs to be rotated. Once you find the location of the sun, put it on the AE map. The best the heliocentric supporter can do is tell which quarter of the month they're in with the moon, and that's ridiculous. Let's take a look at these guys. Their claims. It's all nonsense. Basically, it's like, yeah, if you know the phases, if you memorize all this stuff, then yeah, you can extrapolate how to do it, what time it'll be. But it's all in place of understanding. The understanding is telling time by the moon. It's not excuses, it's not extrapolations. Alright, so let's take a look at this. If we look down the road, this is the east, about. There's the moon, so it's quite a ways to the south in July. The sun is right there somewhere, northwest. So the sun's setting over there. Scientists want you to believe that it's down. So is it down? No, it's not down. There's no need to memorize. There's never a time when you're going to need to actually have math to tell time by the moon. It's so simple. You're going to actually wonder why you didn't figure it out when you were a child. And you're going to start looking back at how you had an early bedtime and you couldn't be out after dark. And you're going to start wondering about times like that. So this is what would happen if the moon were in a different spot, these different images. But there in the center, this is the actual location that the sun and the moon are in now. Now it's the top of a sphere being lit up from the bottom. But the problem is that people say that the sun is down when it sets, and it's not down. They say it's down because we can't see it, it's so far away, but it's not down. If it was down, the bottom would be mostly lit up. And what do we see here? It's mostly the top that's lit up because it's above it. So is the sun down? It's just 10 o'clock, and you'll notice it's not coming from down. The sun and moon are clearly on a similar plane. And the sun is not down, even though it should be. Just over 3 hours since sunset. Still waiting for the sun to be down. Set 3 hours ago, still not down. You're going to notice that the top of the sphere is what you're looking at. Has a light on it. Just over 3 hours since sunset. Notice that the sun and moon move about the same speed, with the moon only losing 1/29.5th per 24-hour cycle. In this case, it's actually gaining, but it just depends on which side of the full moon you're on, whether it gains or it loses. The moon is slower, so I generally say it loses, because I'm always talking about the moon. Is the sun ever down? Realize it's going to do this for the rest of the night. So 3 in the morning, it's going to look like that. Is that going to make sense to you? 3 in the morning. Of course, it'll be way over here to the right. At 3 in the morning, this is what it will be doing. It's really doing the same thing as it's doing right now, but shifted over a couple of hours. It's going to be pretty much the same all night. It was the same when it rose.
I mean, do you realize it's the same, keeps being the same? But guess what's not happening? The sun and the moon are not in different tracks. If they were, the shit would be changing drastically. About 4 hours after the sun went down, allegedly down. You can see from the light on the moon, it never went down. Never goes down. As usual, the sun has receded off to the north. There is not one thing about the heliocentric model that works in reality. It's not close. There is no debate. Earth is flat. You have to use your own eyes and look. The sun should be going around the Earth, and it should be lighting it up from the bottom. They tell us that the sun is coming from down there. Is it? So it's 3:30 in the morning, and as you can see, right now the sun is over India. So where's India? It's north. Where's the sun at? It's north.
Now, if you forget everything else from this entire presentation, remember this. In the middle of the night hours, the sun will always be across the North Pole from you. That's summer, winter, equinox, any time, any place. So this is how we can confirm for ourselves that Antarctica couldn't possibly have 24 hours of sunlight because the sun is in the north.
It's over Pakistan or something. So where's Pakistan from me? It's north. It's noon in Pakistan right now. You know? So, where's Pakistan at? North. I'm in Oregon. Pakistan is north of Oregon. That's unusual. It's not how it's supposed to be. The sun's supposed to be on the other side of the ball. Yeah, it's lighting up this moon from the north. It's honestly like so simple and obvious. That's what it's about, though. It's getting you to deny everything that you can see for yourself. It's so obvious. Where's the light come from? The other side of the flat Earth, obviously, which is across the North Pole. That's why the system is in place. So that you can look up and have to deny your senses. You have to. You have to all the time. The moon. Do you think no astronomer ever looked at the moon? They did. They deny their senses every single time they do it. Or they're part of it. If they're Catholic, they're part of it. Let's be honest. Our ancestors had to flat run away from the Catholics. How much observation does it take? It's just one night, really. One night.
The other day I sent a video link to Geographical. If we can tell time by the moon and no one else can, it's a done deal, which I've already proven. People don't get to debate whether a clock works. I'll bet you that I can tell time by the moon alone better than you can with your cell phone in most cases. Geographical responds, you are wrong, and I'll bet you $1,000 you can't tell the time from the moon better than my phone can. That's ludicrous. Alright, challenge accepted.
So I'm looking at 11 o'clock to the south. Up in the sky we've got almost a full moon, waning gibbous. So where is the sun at then? Alright, so that right there is directly south. So it's about in the 11 o'clock position. If I look down the street, that is east. Down the street this way is west.
So it's showing me that the sun it's not just north of me, it's actually a couple of degrees to the east from north of me. So if I'm to draw a line to what north is from it, then track over just a few degrees, I would say that's probably about 10 degrees from north. We're going to find that that calculation is exactly right. It can't really be wrong. It's like looking at the hands of a clock. I'm going to say that it is about 2 o'clock. So there's the moon. Just go ahead and keep an eye on that. Phone says it's about 3:10 in the morning. So, well, it looks like Jeranism's right. It's 3:10, and here I'm saying it's about 2 in the morning. So, yeah, I guess that's that. Oops, we forgot to confirm noon, the only way possible, by measuring when the sun is directly on your longitude. So, later that day I checked. So it's 2:15. It's 2:15, and this is the compass. And you'll see that it is noon. Finally, 2:15 according to the phone before zenith is achieved at my location. That means the phone is 2 hours and 15 minutes off. The blue line marks the center of the time zone, only 500 miles away, so that should only account for about a half hour false reading. Spin of the Earth being 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, and the sun should be nearing the equinox on August 28th, today. It's really too bad I didn't just trust my initial reading, because that was within 15 minutes of the actual time. At Jeranism, 2 hours 15 minutes off, and will be by default as long as he trusts a device over senses and scientific method. I got less than 1 hour and 15 minutes off. Unbelievable, astounding, never been done before, and you can check my results tonight. Now, we're making light of this, but it needs to be mentioned that Daniel 7:25 is well recognized as a verse about the Antichrist and the verses surrounding it. He shall speak great works against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of time. So, this is what I want to draw your attention to, the changing of times. It is definitive. You'll gain a new skill, a skill that is just not possible with the heliocentric model. It's just not. So, as long as we can do more with our model, that's it. That's all there is to it.
This whole heliocentric nonsense has got to go. To believe in heliocentrism is to deny everything you ever see, and worse, believe because you were told to believe. I personally looked up at the sky and tried to make sense of what I was being told in astronomy class, and I couldn't do it. No one could, because it doesn't match in any way. Reality is not what they tell you in class, and you go outside and you try and match it to class, and you're left confused, and what are you left to do but just trust? I went through it too. There were holes the whole way along, and yet I still fell for it for years and years. Fell for it.